One of the best kept secrets for getting used gear online has got to be Guitar Center Used. This is a marketplace you can find by Googling Guitar Center Used, and it'll bring you to a part of Guitar Center's site that aggregates all of the used gear listings in guitar centers across the US. I want to say right here that this video is not sponsored by anybody. These are simply my own opinions about using Guitar Center Used, and honestly I just don't see many people talking about Guitar Center Used, and I think it's a great place to get used gear at amazing prices. So I've also had one sketchy experience which I will talk about as well, and you can also Google or look on YouTube for other people's reviews of Guitar Center Used. I was looking at some of them before just researching this video to see what was out there about it, and people have had some bum experiences, but I'll also talk about that a little bit in this video. So what have I gotten there over the years? I got my SansAmp original pedal, one of the best pedals, one of my favorite pedals I've ever gotten. That is my distortion sound. And I got it at a time when it was very hard to find them. I think it's still pretty hard to find them. They've reissued it now, and so you can find other versions of it, but I got an amazing deal on it. I think it was like $150, and that brings me to the main point about Guitar Center Used that I really like, and that's the prices are always extremely fair. If you're searching for a particular piece of gear and you go to all your favorite places to look for it, I think you'll find that Guitar Center Used often has the most competitive and cheapest price out of all these different sites and places. So that's one thing I really like about it. So one of the pros is definitely, however they're pricing the gear, Guitar Center Used, amazing job. And I know with the vintage gear, at least this is what an employee told me years ago, is that they take pictures of it when somebody brings, like a used twin reverb into the store, 70s twin reverb. They'll take pics of it, send those pictures to some centralized Guitar Center team that's like a vintage team in California. They price the gear, send them back the prices, and that's the price they put on it. So I don't know, maybe they do something similar with the used gear. But however you guys are doing it, excellent work. So pedals, I think it's great to get. Unless you're looking for something really rare, or that's a pedal somebody could have modded or something, I think you'll be able to find pedals for an amazing price. Rack gear, I've gotten really good pieces of rack gear. Amps, my friend got it was like a 8x10 acoustic, or maybe it was like 6x10, I don't remember the size, but it was humongous. It was a huge fridge-sized bass cab, and around this time, which might have been like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, however they were doing the shipping, it used to be free shipping. Now you do have to pay for shipping, but back then I remember he got this cab. It was shipped for 25 bucks, I think, because it was like oversized or something. So however they had their deal with UPS back then was pretty amazing, because it was unbelievable that I think that the cab was like 250 bucks, and then the shipping on top of it, it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe when that thing showed up. It was like, how did they do that? But obviously it's different now, I'm sure, with shipping, but that was a pretty cool thing. I also got a vintage pair of Zildjian New Beats hi-hats, and those are great. They sound great, exactly what I was looking for. There's not a ton of pictures. There's usually only one picture of each item. But one thing that you can do is call up the Guitar Center where the gear is and talk to an employee and say, hey, I'm looking at these cymbals online, can you tell me about them? So you kind of have like boots on the ground, I guess you would say. Obviously at like other used gear stores you can do this, but eBay, Reverb, I don't think you can do stuff like this. You could probably message the seller, but the fact that you can call somebody who is most likely impartial and doesn't really care, obviously they want to sell stuff, but if you're just calling somebody, if I worked there and somebody called me and was like, hey dude, I want to get this pedal, how does it look? I'd be like, yeah, this is like what it looks like. Maybe it's scuffed here, it looks brand new, it looks old, it looks like it's got some oxidation or rust or whatever. So I think that's a cool aspect. You can literally call somebody and say, hey, what's the deal with this? I'm sure they might even be able to send you pictures. Another cool thing is, depending on where the gear is, you can zero down or narrow down the search by guitar centers that are near you. I think the closest one here, there's some down in New York, and there's some up in Albany, or one in Albany, and so you can just narrow the search to what's at a specific store. So if you wanted to take a little road trip or go someplace to actually look at the gear, you can do that. So that's a possibility too, is that you could go and find something and then go inspect it in person. And that seems to be the issue with a lot of things that people have gotten that they didn't like from Guitar Center used, is that wasn't as described, or they felt like it was in worse shape than it was described, which I've never had an issue with in terms of the scale by which they are grading this stuff. But my point is, like, I think with certain stuff, you probably would want to inspect it in person, right? It's like kind of like buying a pair of pants. Like, yeah, you could order like a pair of pants online, but you know, clothes are made so every piece of clothing is almost stitched differently, and guitars too. It's like looking at it versus playing it is a totally different experience. Obviously, with the way things are right now, it's not as easy to do that, but a lot of sites also have an amazing return policy, which Guitar Center's used, I believe, is 45 days. I was just looking at it, which is pretty awesome for used stuff. So it gives you an opportunity to try it out, or try it out in person, or you can call somebody to figure out the condition. You could do all three of those things. You can do none of those things, but you have some good options as to, you know, the condition of the gear and finding out what condition it's in. And also the return policy, I think, is extremely generous. Oh, so the other thing with the returns I was just going to say was that I believe you can just bring it back to the store. So if you have one near you, obviously if you don't have one near you, then that's not really going to help. But if there's one close by and you get something you don't like, you could always bring it back to the store and get a credit or refund right in person. I'm not exactly sure how that works, so that's something to definitely research. But I've never had to return anything, but I'm sure you could also ship it back. I'm assuming if they have a 45-day return policy, it's most likely they will just refund you, but I should have checked that. I apologize for not checking it. Maybe somebody can leave a comment below about it. Also, leave any comments about your stories about Guitar Center use. If you've had good experiences, bad experiences, I'd be interested. I'm sure other people will be interested if they find this video. So my sketchy story with Guitar Center used, not so much sketchy, but a little bit of a bummer. I found actually, and I actually have gotten, I think, 2 pieces of Tech 21 gear. I got my SansAmp pedal, like I mentioned, and I got the SansAmp RBI, which is behind me over here. It's the bass rack unit for SansAmp's bass, rack unit. So I was looking on Guitar Center used at one point a few years ago, and I saw a rack unit that was, it looked like it must have been, I've never seen one of these after this. I think there's probably pictures of it online, but it's a silver face SansAmp unit. It may have been like a really early one. I'm not really sure what the story with it was. It basically looked like it was the SansAmp original pedal in rack form. I think it was like $100 somewhere in California. I think I called them up and just got the condition or whatever, put the order in, and a couple days later I got an email about it, or somebody called me back and they said, oh, sorry, but we're not going to ship this to you. And the reason the guy said, the salesperson or the employee said, was, oh, we don't have the power supply for it, so we don't really want to ship it to you if we don't have the power supply. And I was like, I mean, I don't really care. I could find a power supply. Jay could have easily put something together for me or help me find the power supply. However it shook out, they did not want to ship it to me. So this was in my head for a while. This piece of gear, you know how it is when you're looking for something, you start looking for it. I was like, what is this thing? I want to find another one of these. And I remember looking on Reverb, and it must have been a couple days later, and lo and behold, this silver-face SansAmp was listed on Reverb for like $350 or something, 3 times the price. And it get location, somewhere in California. Now, I don't know if it was somebody there who canceled my order and then bought it and then listed it on Reverb. I can't speculate. Oh no, I will speculate and say that that's exactly what happened, which sucked because I just wanted to use it because I wanted a rack unit Sans amp. I wasn't thinking about, reselling it. I want to get stuff so I can make music with it. So that really sucked. Some enterprising employee, and it's like I can't do anything about that, right? Because it's not like I went to the store and saw it and could have just bought it. It was literally, I called up, asked about it, ordered it, days later got a call, sorry, we're not going to ship it to you because we can't find the power supply. Okay, that's all great and good, but then to have somebody list it and try to sell it, on Reverb, I don't know, that's really crappy. It's a really crappy thing for somebody to do. But that's my shitty story about it. So, there's nothing I can do to control that, right? But with anything, of course, do your own due diligence. Like I said, check in person, call somebody. You can always return it. Obviously, used gear is a roll of the dice. I'm sure you've had great stories with it. I'm sure you've had ones that were not so great, as we all have. So that's the only asterisk caveat I'll say. I believe that's about it. So like I said, leave any stories that you have about Guitar Center used in the comments. I want to hear what your stories have been like. It seems like on YouTube a lot of people have had bad experiences, but I kind of feel like with all these types of things, you always hear from the few people that have had a poor experience and not the hundreds or thousands of people who it worked out a-okay. So I want to thank all my patrons. I'll drop my patron slide over here. And as always, Godspeed, my friends. Enjoy your used gear hunting and make sure you do something you want to do today, all right?